Hello guys, welcome to Global Happenings. Today we have a trending news here for you. And the headline of the news read, former IGBO presidential aspirant says Nigeria is made up of people who have nothing in common. See those who caused it. But before we continue with details of the news and further analysis, please, if you've not subscribed, just hit on the red subscribe button. And also, if you need notification for every news that we do, hit the bell icon and God will bless you real good. All right, let's go straight into the news for today. The news have it that the ex-minister of Education and former presidential aspirant Dr. Ezekwesili has said Nigerians cannot progress under what she called a monopoly democracy. Ezekwesili said at a fixed politics conference organized by Robert Bosch Academy in Lagos on Monday, the country was not moving forward because all politicians were exercising a political monopoly over the country. She said, when you look at the degree of participation in a democracy, it would tell you whether such democracy is participatory or monopoly. A monopoly democracy is more dangerous than an economic democracy. To have a monopoly is in how the system functions is to retard the system. In Europe, she went further to say that statehood is about people with a similar language coming together I take that again. She said in Europe, statehood is about people with a similar language coming together. In Africa, it was the Berlin Conference that marked out the territories. In Nigeria, administrative convenience propelled the colonial authorities to bring the people together. It was a patchwork. Nigeria is made up of people who have nothing in common. There was no common identifying point of reference beyond the colonial powers' administrative convenience. The former presidential candidate said Nigeria could have overcome the challenges resulting from the 1914 amalgamation if the right things were done at independence in 1960. Ezekwesili blamed the post-independent leaders for not renegotiating the terms of Nigeria's existence when they replaced the British. She said, and I quote, in gaining independence, there was something that needed to happen that did not happen. There needed to be a discussion between these people that were brought together by the colonists. That did not happen. The fact that we failed to hold some dialogue on how to live together constituted a gap. This failure and gaps continue to haunt us to this day. A professor of political economy and management expert, Patutumi, said one of the most important attributes of democracy was rational public conversation. He said, in Nigeria, a terrible thing has happened to us because any view that is not Kabesi view is taken on by public official. I was hoping that these laws on the social media bill on the death sentence will be passed. You know why? Because the people that are in office now, when they leave office, will be sentenced to death because they are the biggest sponsors of fake news against people whose view don't carry a Kabesi view. He went further to say our democracy cannot make progress without having public conversation, and then we learn collectively, and then the common good is advanced. The thesis that Dr. Ezekwesili has just advanced, the thesis of democracy monopoly, is exactly the point I was making. When you have that mindset of only one perspective, you cannot make progress. Monopoly capitalism has never resulted in innovation and growth, and that is why countries like the United States have antitrust laws to prevent monopoly. All right, that's the news. And we just want to look at some of the critical points mentioned here in the news, which I believe will help us to know the reason why we are where we are per time. Now, don't forget that one of the most important things that she made mention of is how Europeans, that states in Europe, I'm talking about countries in Europe, were formed. And she made mention that statehood in Europe, in other words, having a nation is about people with similar language coming together. And that is one of the things that I think Biafra is pursuing right now. People of the same language and of the same purpose coming together, of the same mindset coming together. That's one of the things that was not fully being discussed, and that's why we are having clashes here and there. You realize that despite the fact that we are saying one Nigeria, it's not holding water. The reason is because the right thing was not done on the right time. And the right thing was that after the colonial guys have left Nigeria, there would have been a consensus discussion where these things were tabled, and then if they need to be a breakage at that point, I think that is what the likes of Ojukwu had perceived before then. When he saw the coming together of Nigeria, starting up a country called Nigeria, he knew that with diversity, multi-diversity in language, that certainly there was going to be crisis in the future, and that's why he was pushing for Biafra. And that's exactly what this woman is saying. Because whenever there is no oneness in language, one of the characteristics you're going to see is the fact that there's bound to be monopoly in democracy, monopoly in leadership. A particular group of people will want to, be the ones leading. For example, if you look at Nigeria now, somebody will say, well, we have a common language that unites us. Is it not English language? But that English language is just to exchange words. It's not born out of unity in mind. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. It's not born out of unity. Yeah, we may say that we have one singular language, but the truth is that it's just for us to exchange words, but it doesn't produce unity. Why does it not produce unity? Because why did I say it won't produce unity? Is the fact that one group of persons, one ethnic group is trying to dominate the other ethnic group in all sense of the word. Imagine, as we're looking at Nigeria, she talked about monopoly democracy. Look at Nigeria as a whole. Look at Nigeria from the time we started till now. There is one set of people that wants to be involved in all leadership in Nigeria, irrespective of the fact that their person had left before now. Now, if you start from, let's look at from when we started democracy in 1999. We started up with Obasanjo, and who was the next person there? It was, Atiku Abubakar. We now move forward, and we had a Hausa guy, and who was he? The president that passed on, and then Jonathan was with him. He was from North. And now, he passed on, and when he passed on, the next person that came up was Jonathan took over the position as the leader. And who was another person that we adopted? It wasn't from the southeast, it wasn't from the southwest, it was still from the north. Okay, now after all of that had happened, a new person came on board. At least opportunity should have been if we were united and we pursuing one purpose, which is the unity of the country, which is the well-being of the people in the country. At least another person would have said, okay, since we are just one in mind, let us get somebody from the east to also rule us, and let us see how the country would look like. But instead of that, they went again for another person from the north, in the person of Muhammadu Buhari. We got him again to rule. So you now realize that what we are seeing today is nothing more than monopoly democracy. That's why we have been limited. And I think it is at this juncture that one can conclusively say that that is the reason behind Mazi Nnamdi Kanu pursuing the realization of Biafra. That is why you are seeing the issue of secession is something that they cannot stop pursuing. For example, I was listening to him in a short clip that he was discussing with one woman from Channel, and he talked about that when they started perceiving the problems, when the Easterners started complaining about a lot of things, that there would have been need to sit back together and iron out things so that we can be in the same fold, so that we can, be in the same line, so that we can know that this is the way the problem is, and we hit it and get it corrected. Nobody give ears to the complainers at that time. Now, when the whole thing seems to have spoiled, that's when everybody wants to talk. Let us talk and let us talk. That's the problem we have today. So the issue of monopoly in democracy and the issue of Nigerians not being united, not having one thing in common, is the fact that one ethnic group want to be most prioritized. They want to be topmost in all respect. Look at what has happened today in our country. Despite the visible failures in leadership that we have seen in all respect, ranging from those who were elected ministers down to those who were elected service chiefs, down to those who politically got themselves to where they are, nationally, they have seen that they have failed, but yet they do not want to accept it. The media who are working alongside them do not even want to paint it that way. Instead, they are still saying, let us keep them. If they cannot solve it, who else can solve it? What kind of mindset is that? And that's why we are having the problem that we're having today in the country. So one of the things that will cure all this issue is what Nigerians are pursuing now. Most people believe that it can never get better. So they are talking about we need to secede, we need to have our own group, we need to have our own nation, whereby we have one language in common. We have one purpose in common, whereby we are pursuing a dream where everybody will have the right to life, the right to well-being, the right to live gloriously. That's what the whole thing is all about. The right to walk freely on earth. The pursuit now. And without all of these things being corrected, I'm not only seeing one group of people seceding, I'm seeing multiple groups in Nigeria seceding. Don't forget that Duduwa have also considered they wouldn't mind to take a walk. Nigeria Deltas are also talking about it. A lot of, you realize that there is no oneness at all. So until we wake up and sit back and correct these things, life will continue. Like this guy, Professor Patu Tami, also made mention of something which is most very, very important. He talked about the issues that we have in the country, that they do not have a season where the people come together and say, what is your problem? In the days of Obasanjo, at least we saw a little of that, whereby, the president will come up and will have a roundtable talk with the people. People will be calling in and giving their views about certain issues which are inimical to the running of the country. With that, you will realize that professionals will come in. Okay, even if we cannot do that because of possibly everyone will not be given due representation. Okay, why not get from each of the geopolitical zone some persons whom we know they have already gotten a roundtable talk with their people. They know some of the common problems of their people. Get them out from their different tribes and from their different ethnic group and from their different regions. Bring them together. Let them give an opportunity for them to table how each of the problems will be solved, and not just tabling it, but also ensuring that those solutions that they have profiled is being implemented so that we can see the changes. But unfortunately, that's not what we are seeing today in Nigeria. If you look critically, there's one thing I have come to notice, and that thing is that all what we are hearing today that is coming from the top is the presidency is the one saying it. Mr. President himself is not saying anything, and it's so troubling because right now we already know that there's something called cabal, and the cabal makes up the presidency. So oftentimes most things that we hear may likely not be from the Mr. Presidency. We are hearing so much voices of the unelected presidents, and it's disturbing Nigerians. It's causing a lot of chaos. It is high time these things get corrected once and for all, so that Nigerians can move forward. I think that's where I would like to leave it. Go to our comment section, let us interact. What do you think about what Ezekwesili has just talked about, the issue of monopoly in democracy, or call it democracy monopoly, and also the case of Nigeria not being a people of a common language, and also looking at what this man has said, Patotumi, the need for the government to give the people a chance to have an input in what is happening to them. All right, let's do that and